Hi, I'm Graeme, Chief Exec of SCMA. It's been a little while since I last recorded a video update for you, but I wanted to reach out to you because this update is really important. Now, we know you're all very busy, but this should only take about 10 to 15 minutes of your time over the next few days. Today, SCMA has published a major new report on ELC and childminding, which has confirmed that national and local implementation of ELC has largely failed childminding. Since 2017, we've been commissioned annually by the Scottish Government to undertake an independent audit of where local authorities are at in terms of their inclusion of childminders in delivering funded hours as part of ELC expansion. We didn't do an audit last year due to the pandemic, but we reintroduced it this year. And to make it more meaningful and to strengthen the value of the exercise, we also undertook parallel snapshot surveys of both childminders and parents because we wanted to get an accurate picture not just of where we are now in 2021, but also after 5 years of national and local activity to support the delivery of 1140 by 2020 or 2021 as it became. The findings of our latest audit might make stark, challenging or uncomfortable reading for government. We do not underestimate the scale and complexity of implementing expansion of ELC, nor do we underestimate the unprecedented nature of the pandemic and the disruption which this has caused. However, the reality for childminding is that many of the problems which childminding has faced with ELC expansion were deeply embedded before COVID-19 even emerged and have not been adequately addressed. The childminding workforce has declined by 26%, 1,457 childminders in the last 5 years. And this has accelerated in parallel to ELC expansion. This cannot be sustained, and it has significant implications for families, access to childcare and parental choice. It could also threaten the Scottish Government's own ability to deliver on its commitments in the programme for government, to extend ELC downwards to 1-year-olds, and to develop a new system of wraparound school-aged childcare. These are both areas in which childminders are heavily involved and will play a vital role. As such, we believe a step change in action is now urgently required. Key findings of our work include that the number of childminders included in delivering funded ELC after 5 years of national and local implementation activity remains very low. Progress in involving childminders in delivering funded ELC for eligible 2-year-olds, a Scottish Government priority area linked to support for low-income families, has stalled, with only 4.1% of the childminding workforce in Scotland involved in delivery. This is of significant concern. An additional 510 childminders are now involved in delivering funded ELC to 3 and 4-year-olds compared to 2019. But with only 17.5% of the childminding workforce actually delivering funded hours to this age group, and only 2% of children receiving funded hours accessing them through childminders, this cannot be considered a success after 5 years of activity. Significant differentials also continue to exist between the numbers of childminders approved and those actually delivering funded ELC. This can often involve lengthy delays in which childminders continue to lose children and business from their settings. There were a range of other findings within our work, including that the founding ELC principle of provider neutrality, through which parents should be able to choose to access their funded ELC from a range of childcare providers, and local authorities should support this approach, is not working as it should or as it was intended. There is clear evidence through the parent and childminder surveys, audit returns, and indeed on local authority websites that a number of local authorities are not practising provider neutrality, continue to prioritise their own nursery provision, and are not promoting childminding equitably to parents as they should be alongside their own nurseries as an option for accessing their funded ELC entitlement. We also found that too many offers for funded ELC made by local authorities to parents are inflexible. These can often involve only a single option to be taken on fixed days or at fixed times, and sometimes including a requirement to take some or all of the funded ELC hours with a local authority nursery. There is strong demand for future offers to parents to include increased flexibility. And while a number of childminders delivering funded ELC to 3 and 4-year-olds has increased, both our parent survey and childminder survey confirmed that the vast majority of those childminders who are currently involved are doing so at a lower level of hours through blended placements, in which childcare is split between a nursery and a childminder. Several local authority audit returns also confirmed that it can be normal practice to base hours firstly around nursery needs. Many childminders believe delivering funded hours is very important to their future business sustainability, but there is often a weak match between the offers made by local authorities to parents and childminders' business viability. This can particularly be the case when there is a requirement to take the majority of hours in a local authority nursery and parents are only offered a much reduced level of hours with a childminder. On this matter, a number of you have been in touch with the SCMA, reporting that you feel as though childminders are just given the scraps when it comes to ELC. Delivering funded hours and wider ELC expansion has led to a very significant increase in bureaucracy and additional paperwork for childminders. This is including through duplicative quality assurance systems at a national and local level, and this is not sustainable. 86% of childminders delivering funded ELC said this has led to a significant increase or an increase in their paperwork, and only just over half would recommend delivering funded ELC to others. This has been causing childminders to stop delivering funded hours, to leave the childminding workforce, and also amongst those who responded has now become the main thing that is putting childminders off getting involved in delivering ELC. This latest evidence adds to earlier evidence that we've captured, and we're going to continue to layer on the evidence in support of the need for change on this important issue. More encouragingly, the results of the snapshot surveys would suggest that a majority of parents are receiving their first choice of childcare provider. However, this needs to be qualified with concern about the lack of choice and the options available locally, with more than half of parents reporting they only received a single option for accessing their funded ELC within the offer from a local authority. As such, it's clear that preferences clearly change if parents are presented with more options, more choice, and ability to make an informed choice. SCMA has made a series of recommendations to the Scottish Government within our audit. In simple terms, we need a step change in action. We need the Scottish Government and local government representative bodies to step up and step in and ensure that ELC is implemented consistently, fairly and equitably, and that local authorities actively promote and offer childminding to parents as an option for accessing their funded hours. ELC was also supposed to increase parental choice and flexibility, but our findings would suggest there is a long way to go on delivering on this. Meanwhile, in parallel, our workforce has declined by over a quarter. Things have to change. Moving on, I would like to provide you with a short update about what's going on in relation to childminders' unsustainable workloads. We know this is the biggest issue for you at this time. As an organisation, SCMA continues to be very active on this issue, and we've been leading national discussion. Our large-scale survey last year found that the level of bureaucracy and paperwork associated with childminding practice is the main reason that childminders have left our workforce or are planning to do so within the next 5 years. We used this compelling evidence to advocate for and secure a commitment from the Scottish Government to develop an action plan on childminding, and we worked closely to inform its development. And this in turn has provided a platform for other organisations with an interest to get involved as well. More recently, we were aware that the pressures on childminders were increasing further as a result of the Care Inspectorate's new quality framework being launched in early summer. This was closely followed by ELC coming back on, and with local authorities undertaking a range of activity at a local level to support this. As an organisation, we took the initiative to shine a national light on this issue, and we made a detailed written submission to the independent expert group on education reform. To us, this presented a valuable opportunity, as in addition to replacing the SQA, this expert group was also charged with considering what to do following the Scottish Government's decision to remove the inspection function from Education Scotland. And this is hugely important, as we were only supposed to have one system of scrutiny and inspection in ELC. This was supposed to be through a single shared inspection between the Care Inspectorate and Education Scotland. And as you'll be aware, this didn't happen. And instead we have two separate quality frameworks, one from the Care Inspectorate, which is for all childcare providers, both those delivering funded ELC and not involved in this, and a separate framework, How Good is Our Early Learning and Childcare from Education Scotland. And to compound matters, we then have local authorities working at a local level. They've got a continuing requirement to oversee quality in their area, So they've been developing their own local systems of quality assurance on top of this, involving inspection and self-evaluation, based on either how good is our early learning childcare or on realising an ambition. To be clear, much of this activity is duplicative and it wasn't intended to happen. So we shared our submission to the expert group with the Scottish Government, with the Care Inspectorate, and also widely across our sector. And we urge senior stakeholders to recognise the problems which exist and to commit to working with SCMA to addressing them. Since then, a range of other organisations have added their voice and have spoken about this issue, both within childminding and beyond. To be clear, this is an issue which is affecting all childcare providers in Scotland at this time, but childminding is being affected much more due to the majority of you being sole workers, being expected to meet the same standards and undertake the same work as other providers who have teams of staff. As an organisation, we've worked to push this up the agenda, and this has now become one of the most important items of discussion, not just within a monitoring group for the Action Plan on Childminding, but also in a range of national meetings in which we've been participating recently. Now, we realise that there isn't a quick fix, and also that just reviewing the paperwork in itself won't solve the problems that you're all experiencing. To be clear, the paperwork is just a symptom. We have to tackle the cause. Too many frameworks layered on top, one on top of the other, with duplicative quality assurance activity nationally and locally, which risks being made much worse by a range of policy proposals which are coming over the horizon. We have uncertainty over education reform, the development of the National Care Service, and commitments in the Scottish Government's programme for government to extend ELC down to 1-year-olds, which will be an offering that will look very different from that currently for 3 and 4-year-olds, and also a new system of wraparound school-aged childcare. All of these have the potential to create a further need for quality assurance, and they also have the potential to make matters much worse if we don't act now. While much work still needs to be done, I can genuinely say that we believe the Scottish Government, the Care Inspectorate and local authority representative bodies are actively engaging with SCMA about our concerns and that they recognise the issues and also that there's a need for change. So this is why SCMA is focusing so heavily on this issue, and we're also working to help other stakeholders join the dots. So you'll see a number of recommendations around tackling bureaucracy within our audit report, which was published today, and also within a more extensive written submission, which we're also making today to the consultation on education reform. And this builds on our participation in a recent meeting with Professor Ken Muir, who's chairing the expert group's work, and who asked SCMA to follow up with more information. And we've also been engaging fully on a whole new policy areas coming through, which are going to impact upon childminding. I'm not going to attempt to list all of the meetings in which we've been engaging, I'd bore you silly. But this is something we do every week on your behalf. Please be assured that no one else has been doing, is doing, or will do more to support childminders in Scotland. Finally, I'd like to end this update on a more positive note. Members will be aware just how much SCMA has done to support childminders and families during the pandemic. As such, we were delighted to learn recently that we've been shortlisted for 2 awards in the Scottish Public Service Awards 2021 for our response to supporting members and families during COVID, and also for our ongoing leadership as an organisation. To put this in context, the judging panel for these awards included the chief execs or directors of the Scottish Government, Scottish Parliament, the Scotland Office of the UK Government, Audit Scotland, the Improvement Service, which oversees quality in local authorities, and the Scottish Council for Voluntary Organisations. It would be hard to get higher recognition of what we are doing. We're also the only children's or wider third sector organisation to make the shortlist for both of these awards. It would be great to win, but we recognise other entries are very strong, and shortlisting in itself is a major achievement. We're looking forward to representing childminding and the third sector in both of those categories at the awards ceremony in the Scottish Parliament next month. That's enough from me today, and we'll continue to update you. Stay well.